I think some shame can go a long way.
Is there anything that we just shouldn't shame people for?
Being bald and being short.
To get that Greg Doucette surgery. Is it okay to be fat?
Everyone's entitled to kind of live their life whatever way they want. Obesity is a really tough thing, and it's a very hard thing and very difficult thing to try to figure out. But I think shaming someone that's obese is not helpful. But if you're 15 years old and you're 300 pounds, you have a different life than if you're 15 years old and you're 170 pounds and you're 6'2".
Many people they love themselves a lot, and they're fat or overweight.
What's fat on this earth? People and their pets. Like, people are really lean in a lot of the fitness culture that you see, in a lot of the movies that you see. So I do think there's a little bit of shaming going on. I think it's working to some extent. Yeah, you can be fat, but are you going to be discriminated against? I think, fuck yeah, you are.
Fat shaming. What do you guys think about it?
I think some shame can go a long way. I think sometimes with somebody stinking, I should know, my name's Smelly, might encourage you to go into the shower a little bit more and actually use the soap, not just rinse with some water.
Do we think okay, let me ask you this then. Is there anything that is what we just shouldn't shame people for? You know, I know the context of who you're shaming, family, whatever, but are there things that are just like off limits, you think?
Well, it's a tough conversation because we get shamed for everything, being bald, being short, being, this, being that. But I would say being bald and being short are like in a category where you don't really have any choice at all, I don't believe. But maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe some sort of research will show that you do have control over that, but I don't think you do.
Could get that Greg Doucette surgery.
He's real tall. Coach Greg, where you at, bro?
Yeah, he got his height increased.
Okay.
I think he got some
6'3" now.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
looking down on us next time we see him.
Damn.
Oh my God.
It's a monster.
That was good, yeah. Well, this video I think is really interesting. We haven't watched it, but I think there's this guy, he's going around asking people about fat shaming and fat acceptance. So let's get into it.
Yeah, let's check it out.
Do you think fat shaming works?
I think so.
Yes, because they start thinking that it is okay.
I'm a fat bitch.
I'm just gonna keep eating. You can't tell me what to do.
Would you want to be fat?
Would I want to have more meat on my bones? Yeah, I'm flat everywhere.
Am I too much? Go find less.
Today I am asking, is it okay to be fat?
Yes, it's okay, it's common, it's regular, normal.
Yes, I mean,
Pause.
look at me.
Okay, so let's quickly what do you guys think? That question, it's a very general question, but is it okay to be fat?
Yeah, I would say so. I think everyone's entitled to kind of live their life whatever way they want.
Yeah. Okay. It is okay. You can do whatever you want. If you want to be, I can't change the fact I'm bald. It's okay to be bald. It's okay to be fat. The only thing that I guess we start to think about is how is your personal quality of life okay for you? And if it is, that's fine.
Yeah, I think you start to worry about people's health, I guess, to some concern. And then there's also like with such things that happened more recently, the healthy people kind of having to surrender to people that aren't as healthy.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
Through the pandemic, through that process. And there's definitely strain on like our medical system and all these things, mainly from people just overeating. I know there's genetic things behind certain things, and I know that there should be sensitivity towards certain things. I don't think everyone needs to be skinny, but maybe we should continue to do our best to educate people and to give people options so that they don't end up obese, because I think obesity is a really tough thing, and it's a very hard thing and very difficult thing to try to figure out. But I think shaming someone that's obese is not helpful. Like, once you shame someone that already got to that point, I don't think that's helpful.
Yeah.
I think that if a parent or somebody explains to their child, or someone explains to their friend, hey, like, I think we should look at some other options. We should maybe, as a parent, it'd be really difficult, but if you do it young enough, then then your kid doesn't even your kid's not even old enough to understand, and you just start making adjustments because you're like, wow, that one, our one son, he's starting to get really heavy compared to the other kids. Well, let's maybe change up some of the food and change up some of the diet. So I think education and stuff like that, I think that shaming can be helpful though, because it can help people to kind of fall in line with, for some people that haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah.
And being fat does matter. So you can do whatever you want. But if you're 15 years old and you're 300 pounds, you have a different life than if you're 15 years old and you're 170 pounds and you're 6'2". It's just different. It's just different. Like, I don't think anyone could argue that.
Me, I'm a fat.
I don't think it's really okay to be fat because it's a lack of self-love.
I just love myself, and people love me because I love myself.
I'd rather have people love themselves, go to the gym, take care of themselves.
A few kilos more or less.
Pause. Okay, that statement, he believes being fat is a lack of self-love. That is a tough one. That's a tough brush to like stroke on everybody that might be fat or overweight, because many people they love themselves a lot and they're fat or overweight, right?
Are they in denial, or do they really, really believe that?
Well, this is the thing to think about. Not like, for example, our lifestyles. Like, we work out all the time. We enjoy that. We enjoy our activity levels. That brings us joy and happiness. For some people, exercise and maybe that type of stuff isn't a big part of what brings them joy in life. Maybe what brings them joy in life is hanging out with their friends, and maybe while hanging out with their friends, they do things together, they eat, they have fun. Maybe that is joy for them, right? Maybe that is self-love for them. Is it the best for your health? Sometimes it's not, but that's a big one.
Sometimes people are even blind to certain things. Like, you might not even ever really thought about it. You might be overweight, but you just never, you didn't really explore exercise, so you have no idea what it feels like. Maybe you have, and maybe it kind of like sucked, but you didn't do it long enough for it to start to feel good. So I think there's like so many factors in there. I do think that when somebody gets really heavy, when someone starts to be obese, I think a lot of times there can be mental health issues in there somewhere as well. So I think that's something to be sensitive towards and sensitive to, because there are people that are bipolar. There are people that have I guess mental health disorders to some extent. I'm not trying to make excuses or blanket excuses for people, but there are people they're born different. We don't know why exactly they're born different, but they're born a little bit different. And I think it's kind of great that we have a lot of different people. But a lot of people that are heavy, a lot of times you'll see trauma with people that are really heavy. Most of so far, anybody they've talked to on this video that we're watching, there's not a single fat person really in here that I've seen. This
She's
lady,
self-proclaimed.
This lady has some boobs, and she doesn't look fat to me.
I'm sorry, I'm getting thirsty.
But I think to each their own. I think once we start judging each other, because like self-love, you could also be like, man, that guy doesn't have his shit together. Why doesn't he care? His rent's overdue. Like, the guy's got no money. He's always broke. His car's a piece of shit. Like, you can start to judge people for all kinds of stuff. You can get nitpicky, and it's like, I think that's an ugly place to live.
Yes.
And try to maybe stay a little bit more in your own lane. And if someone asks you a question, that's when you can start to say, oh, I'm glad you asked. I can teach you how to make more money. There's a skill set involved, and let's figure out what you're good at. Let's figure out what you enjoy, and let's find the intersection of those two things and monetize it. Kaboom.
Will not change me.
It has a lot of problems being fat because it is not healthy or good looking.
I think it's okay to be fat, but I wouldn't date a fit person, I think.
Is it okay to be fat?
Of course.
You hesitate a little.
Well, because I don't think asking, is it okay to be fat, is a correct question to ask.
Is it even offensive to say fat person or like big bone person?
If they're comfortable in their
Pause.
body.
I know we're pausing so much.
That's
but
okay. This is great.
This is the funny thing. I'm Nigerian. People like my family members, people in my community, when I was growing up, if they saw an overweight kid, they would just say, hey, like, what's going on? Why are you fat? It's like there's no beating around the bush. Partially because, like, within the language, even the communicative aspect of a lot of dialects in Nigeria are very direct. So, you know, when you see somebody that is overweight or somebody that is unhealthy, you just say, why are you like this? Let's change this. What are you doing? Whereas in America, for good reason. Like, I think in America, we pay much more attention to people's mental health here than we do in some like Nigeria and other places. But with that, there does seem to be some coddling of feelings. And there should be. We need to handle these situations individual by individual, but it seems like here you can't just say that directly. You know what I mean? Even if it's someone in your family, you're more careful than my family would be.
Within different communities, it's going to be way different. It does seem to work in other cultures. Like less people in those cultures are fat, right? We have a huge issue with it here in the United States. I do find it interesting that a lot of the young people that I've been around in the last couple of years, I've noticed have shifted towards like lifting weights and losing weight. There was a couple of young guys in here the other day that were probably like late teen, early 20s. They were all getting after it. They're all training hard in there. And then my son Jake and Owen, Wyatt, like all these guys are kind of into like, let me take control of this. So I wonder if 20 years from now, 30 years from now, as those guys are older, as those guys have children, if they'll pass along to their kids, because I think it's the greatest thing that you can pass along is some sort of fitness hygiene and some sort of nutritional hygiene that people refer to frequently, because I think that can be really helpful to help get us away from people being excessively heavy.
Then they're comfortable in their body. Anything that's going to hamper your arteries or anything like that, I don't know. It's not good.
I think it's not okay. It's not healthy at all.
According to my doctor, I'm fat. But if you look at the size of my legs,
You got mailman calves.
yeah, fat is such a generic statement. It's hard to say yes or no.
I grew up in West Virginia, which happens to be the fattest state.
Were you ever fat?
The biggest I've ever been, I got up to 243. I woke up in the mirror, looked at myself at 243, bubbly, my hips hurt, my knees hurt, my ankles
Can you
hurt.
pause? I think something that's really interesting and something to think about, when a question like this comes up, like what's fat, who's fat, like what's fat on this earth? People and their pets are the only two things that are fat. You don't see a fat elephant, even though an elephant might have a lot of fat. It's not fat in comparison to the other elephants. A whale, a monkey, a chimp, anything, a wolf.
Anything that we fuck with is fat. Like even cows, like we fatten them bitches up, and we.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So
pigs,
we're not necessarily designed all that well to hold a lot of extra weight. And this guy's pointing out, like he looked at himself in the mirror and just was like, "Whoa, I have a lot of extra on me. I need to get rid of some of this weight." And I think with some of the younger guys today, I think they are maybe getting shamed. I think there is, there's such a big fitness culture on TikTok and Instagram. I do think it's you're seeing more and more movie stars like lifting and being shredded and being in really good shape. We didn't really see that. When I was a kid, they had stuff like that. There was like WWE and but like Hulk Hogan and those people, they had a different look than what you see today. Like people are really lean in a lot of the fitness culture that you see, in a lot of the movies that you see. So I do think there's a little bit of shaming going on, and I'm curious as to whether I think it's working to some extent, because I think a lot of the younger kids are influenced by it. And as that one guy pointed out, that was such great honesty by that guy. He was like, "I wouldn't date a fat person." I was like, "Whoa, that's pretty," but that's keeping it real though. I think a lot of people feel that way. So yeah, you can be fat, but are you going to be discriminated against? I think, fuck yeah, you are. I think that's what's going to happen. You will be, depending on your size. Like if you're obese, it's going to make it harder to get a job. Yeah. It's going to make everything that you do, it's going to make it harder. I'm not saying that you can't be that way. You can be whatever way you want to be, but it's just going to make your life that much tougher. And whatever way you can figure out a way to try to avoid it would be great.
I'm not sure what that woman is in the video. She's foreign, maybe she's French or something, but she was like, it's not attractive, or I don't find it attractive. That other guy says, I wouldn't date a fat person. The thing to think about here is like, if you're someone who is fat or overweight and you're listening, you know, just because you're fat doesn't mean you're not worthy of love, but that does, like, if you're single and you are looking for somebody, I guess your prospects are a bit thinner. I wasn't even trying to go for that, but like you're thinning down your prospects because there are many people who just don't find that attractive. That doesn't mean you're worthy of love, but that means that it is harder for you, right? So that's just a real thing to say. It may sound mean, it may sound insensitive, and there are people that don't mind. There are people that would totally just like be attracted to that, but there are many people who aren't attracted to that because, and just if you're fat, it doesn't mean you're lazy. You shouldn't be assigning, you shouldn't be assigning traits to someone because of the way they look. Just like for black people, back in the day in the media when we were being depicted as drug dealers and fucking thieves, etc., when many people would look at a black guy or someone, they'd think automatically, oh, you're a less intelligent.
I'm still going to the other side of the street.
Hey, you know what? I don't blame the woman who clutches her purse and moves to the other side of the street because I'm a 6'2" big motherfucker. She doesn't know me. I get it. But at the same time, you shouldn't be assigning that to somebody. But it's inevitable that you will because, it's just the way things are. So that's something you kind of got to deal with.
Yeah. And for guys, I forgot who we had on the podcast, but, we were talking about like the percentage of men that are overweight and the percentage of men that are obese. We'll just say it's 50% of all men. Yeah. Like if you're just not overweight, you cut out half of the male population and you've raised your value, right? So just as shallow as it may appear, it's just the truth that, if you are just not overweight, not even jacked, just not overweight, then you are physically already in better shape than half of the dudes that are out there also trying to nail down a woman. Well, nail
one down.
Well, good. Nail
her down.
Say that in Spanish.
Pin down a. Oh no, that's too aggressive.
Yeah, I know, right? I can't say it in Spanish. Anyway.
That moment there, I was like, this is not good. I don't like it. It's not for me. But if it's for you, I think you should get after it.
Whether it be through fat mannequins or plus-size models, the fat acceptance movement has advocated for body positivity for all shapes and sizes.
Women of all shapes and sizes do exist, and it's important that you see yourself represented.
Big girl summer has officially begun.
But with America's high obesity rates, we must question the importance of acceptance versus its consequences. But is it just easy for me?
You guys do notice, though, that there is a double standard when it comes to fat acceptance. Like, you will see a lot of bigger women that are like bigger women put in these sexualized somewhat positions, but you'll never see like a bigger guy put as like a sex symbol in that way. But you'll see it's like a very confident big woman in that way. And it's you should, like, this is the thing. If you're fat, that doesn't mean you cannot be confident and love yourself, but we're not seeing that on the guy side of things.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit like an overcorrection, because I think for years maybe, men could have a little pot belly going. Guys could gain some weight. They could get a dad bod. You hear that term thrown around. Bert Kreischer, you see with his shirt off everywhere, and he's not getting any skinnier at the moment. But you see most of the like fat acceptance stuff. It does seem to be shared a lot more from females, and that's probably just so people can feel more comfortable. Again, if you're already heavy, I think that a friendlier approach to get you to encourage you to move and to exercise and to work on your nutrition is probably a better answer than somebody just coming up to you saying you're fat and this is gross and you better make changes or you're going to die. I don't think that works. Like, I don't think that's helpful. But having a society that does put some shame on stuff, it does prevent people from like fucking each other in the park randomly. Like you're not going to see that. Why don't you see that? Because that's frowned upon. Because it's.
How did we get there? 1 second.
Would you be if you just walked out of here naked? Like you'd be shamed. Like there would be There's. It's illegal, for one thing, illegal. But it's like, or just, randomly like pissing somewhere. Like there's certain things you can't take a shit on the sidewalk.
In San Francisco, you can.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm going to go there. Take a dump.
Downtown Sacramento, It happens often.
Let's take a trip to LA real quick.
There are obviously there's like laws, but you also just wouldn't do something because it's like crass and it's just like it's gross and you're going to be shamed. People are going to be like, dude, are you serious? Just throwing garbage on the side of the road. You know, you're walking with your friends, you finish your bottle, you just throw it over your head. Your friends would be like, dude, are you what are you doing? You're just going to throw that wherever? Like you're going to be shamed for that.
Yeah.
So don't fuck people in the park anymore.
Sorry, man.
I mean, I know it's a nice setting and all, but
it can be romantic.
To say because I played sports my whole life. And more importantly, isn't acceptance the first step to self-improvement? Guess we gonna see. Can you be healthy and obese?
That's tough, you know?
You know, you can be healthy
Pause.
and
Can you be healthy and obese?
What does it mean to be healthy?
What does it mean to be obese? Well, a lot of times they say morbidly obese, so that would imply that you're out of the category of being healthy, I would assume.
There's a snippet, and we have our friend Russell who trains here. We've talked about him on multiple podcasts, but he's mentioned, and he pointed out that, you know, when you're younger and you're obese, you don't feel things as much. Your blood work can come back well. Your body doesn't feel as beat up. But as you get older and your joints are having to deal with the amount of weight you're carrying around, things just start to degrade. And people always talk about as you get older, even in fit people, there's sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle. There's osteo whatever, which is a little bit of loss of bone density. Well, you can counteract those things by exercising, by taking care of yourself. You don't have to age that way. But when you're obese, things tend to degrade faster. So
this guy's a dead ringer for Joe Sullivan, by the way.
Joe Sullivan.
Oh
shit!
Goodness.
I thought you were about to say Josh Kim.
No. The guy interviewing?
Because
the guy with the derby hat there.
He is a dead ringer for Joe Sullivan. But we have our homie Josh Kim, and this should not be taken in any type of weird way. I know someone's going to be like, you know. Well, but we have our homie Josh Kim who looks like the interviewer, and that's just because they look similar, not just because they're Asian. Don't go there with that. That's not where I was going.
Well, okay, so real quickly to switch it back. Was it Russell that said the reason why you don't hear about obese people in their elder age is because they all died? Was it him that said, or was that somebody else?
Yeah, it might have been Russell, it was him. But yeah, I mean, you don't really, when somebody is obese, I think it's going to be harder to make it to be 65 and 70 years old. It's just going to be tougher. It's just going to, again, being excessively overweight for long periods of time, it's just going to make everything harder. It's going to make your relationships tougher. It's going to make getting a job tougher. It's going to make maintaining your health a lot tougher. I don't think that you can be obese and be healthy. I think that you could be obese for a little while and be healthy. I think eventually it's probably going to catch up to you.
still be bigger.
These big wrestlers in Japan, I forgot their name.
Oh, sumo wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like they're strong.
Like I play volleyball, I play soccer, I was a competitive cheerleader. So I think it all just kind of, it all encompasses in what you're able to do.
Yeah. I'm not a doctor. I probably wouldn't want to answer that at all.
Let me ask you this then. Like, what does it mean to be healthy?
Well, mental health is very important and also physical health, of course.
I don't think anyone's purely healthy. You're able to have healthy tendencies. I have a brother who was a track athlete who was an alcoholic. So I think it just depends on the tendencies you choose to focus on.
Huh? So what about
That's really interesting. Like, he doesn't believe that anyone's like completely healthy. I would say I would agree with that. Like, that's pretty amazing. There's probably some sort of stupid habit that we all have, or some sort of thing that we're not even aware of that's not particularly healthy.
Yeah. Is it healthy to be sore all the time?
Is it healthy to be so concerned about it?
Oh gosh.
You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying.
I wanted to know, isn't health more than just the weight on the scale? Health isn't just about physical appearance, right? There's also things like mental, spiritual health. Do you think you can just say that just because you're fat, you're not healthy?
If you're fat, emotional, you won't be good, you know, because you feel bad, your clothes doesn't fit, it is horrible.
Were you ever fat, like, in any time of your life?
Like 6 months ago, I was fat.
What does that mean?
I got cancer, and I was on medicine, hormone therapy. Even cancer is a health problem because of weight, you know?
Now let's dig further and see what the other side would say. America has a really big push for body positivity and fat acceptance. It's okay to be fat. It's healthy to be fat.
I don't support support that.
Why?
I think it's okay to accept your body, but if it's like health concerning, going on the internet and saying, I'm so happy with myself, I'm sorry, I don't believe you.
Pause. Remember, Andrew, when you mentioned are people fooling themselves? I think those clips, and if you're listening, you weren't able to see that, but those snippets that he showed there, like those, like honestly, 500, 600 type pound people,
celebrating it.
I think there is a fooling yourself when it does come to that, because there's honestly, I've never been in those shoes, but I cannot see how in any way that is good or that's beneficial for any individual.
Have any of you guys seen the movie? I think it's called The Whale. Have you guys seen that movie?
No.
It's not called The Whale because the guy's obese. It's called The Whale because the guy is an English teacher and he has kids read Moby Dick or whatever.
Okay.
But anyway, it's with Brandon Fraser, and I think there's a lot of things that surround obesity that is not really talked about, but is shown in this movie. The guy's like he's just very unhealthy. I mean, he tries to get up, he gets out of breath, he stays on his couch. Like, he specifically sets everything up so that he doesn't have to move. So when he does sit down, he's got all his stuff next to him. He can grade his papers and stuff because he's a teacher, and he gets himself to a point where he just doesn't leave his house. He continues to gain weight, and just the smallest task of somebody knocking on the door or something and him having to go to the door, he gets very much out of breath. He gets very sweaty. There's problems with even cleaning yourself, like something that we all take for granted, just like hopping in the shower and all these kinds of things. It's tougher when you weigh more. Like, imagine just with any of us, we're pretty fit. Imagine throwing on a 200-pound weight vest. You wake up tomorrow and you got to kind of lug that around, or even a 100-pound weight vest, and then try to like do all the stuff that you're supposed to do, that you're responsible for. It makes it really, really hard. So I think ultimately, I think it would be a great idea if we can continue to educate people and try to give people options. I think a lot of times people that are heavy, at least in my experience, and I've helped a lot of people lose weight, there's almost always some sort of trauma. And so I think it sucks to just say, oh, that guy's fat, like he's, lazy, he's this, he's that, when you don't really know what that person's experience is, because much like someone that does drugs, or much like someone else that maybe goes down a path that you don't agree with, they went down that path because of their life experiences, and you went on your path because of your life experience. If you had the same life experience as them, you might be in the same crappy position that they're in.
That's true. That's real.
Her jugs are back.
Oh yeah.
Think that you should shame people. I don't think that you should just say, hey, that's okay. It starts out as accept me and then help me, but then it moves into, no, just accept me. I'm just going to keep eating. You can't tell me what to do.
They think that, oh, yes, it is okay to be fat. Let's eat more. I don't think it is a good idea to make that movement.
I agree with that movement, and I like it, and I think it's okay because not everybody looks the same way. Sometimes you're not fat, and some people call you fat. Yeah, it's not okay. I was a ballet dancer, and I quit because of that, so imagine.
It's great for people to feel good, but I would rather promote more healthy stuff than seeing models that are fat. We accept this as the norm. I don't think that's a good thing.
When media has the power to shape culture, it's worth examining what's being shown.
I think there is a trend now of glamorizing morbid obesity.
Soak it in.
I can do things while being fat, and if I were to die tomorrow, I wouldn't regret it. I am fat, and there's no shame in it for me.
Now look, influencers have always existed, from Jesus to traditional celebrities, and now micro-influencers. So with social media, we can now connect with people in any niche that speak to us in our viewpoints, including fat influencers.
You are beautiful just the way you are.
No one owes you their body.
And on the surface, it's a message that most of us can get behind, of self-love and acceptance. But on the other hand, is this a message that's contributing to the obesity epidemic? Have body positivity symbols trap themselves and their audience in their own message? For years, Adele has been known as one of the most successful musicians of her generation. And it so happened that not only was she known for her talents, but also viewed as an icon of body positivity.
I don't want to be some skinny mini with my tits out. I'm just writing love songs.
But on May 2020, after posting an IG pic of her significantly losing weight, some of her fans started accusing her of betraying the body positivity movement, even when it wasn't her intended brand.
So many women were mad when Adele lost all that weight.
I was body positive then and I'm body positive now. But it's not my job to validate how people feel about their bodies.
It's not just Adele. From Jonah Hill to countless others, losing weight was like a stab in the back.
Jonah Hill's weight has been talked about as much as his movies.
It is a big deal. People are obsessed with it.
And so the same people that are advocating for body acceptance of all shapes and sizes are the same ones calling betrayal for losing weight. Do you think?
Yo, we had
interesting as hell.
It is, but that's the thing. It's really interesting how, for example, I'll bring her up again. What is Jeff Nippert's girlfriend's name?
Stephanie Buttermore.
Stephanie Buttermore. You know what I mean? She talked a lot about body positivity. She got, some augmentation.
Mm-hmm.
People get mad at her for not loving herself. And it's like, when it comes to this, it's super odd that you wanting to increase your health span, increase your lifespan by losing weight, by changing your body will make so many people, I guess it invalidates them, or it makes people feel like, oh, you're not one of us anymore, or if you didn't love yourself because you chose to start to exercise or chose to lose weight. Like that there's a post they showed where that woman was saying why Adele is problematic. How have we really come that far in terms of that shit?
Yeah, and they're also like relying on a singer for like maybe too many things, But maybe I don't know. Like I don't know how much she was leaning into the body positivity thing beforehand, and then maybe people are upset and think that she lost weight through some other means, which I think sometimes that matters because like she may have had like bariatric surgery, which is where they shrink down your stomach. And if someone does that and one day they're preaching about, body positivity, I'm okay, I weighed, 200x pounds or whatever she may have weighed. You should be comfortable in your own skin. But then the next day they get like that surgery and then they lose 80 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
It does seem like maybe not super genuine, I guess you'd say.
It's kind of similar because I think I've underestimated how much people put, I guess, they put stock into their identity in terms of somebody else because like a lot of people maybe saw themselves in Adele
in their influencer,
and now that she loses weight they can no longer relate to her even though they loved her music. Just like many guys have a favorite basketball player that switches teams to another team and now they're like, fuck LeBron for going to Miami, you've betrayed us, I'm burning your jersey. It's kind of a similar thing to that, Power Project family, if you're trying to increase your muscle mass, if you're trying to lose body fat, if you're trying to stick to your nutrition plan, if you're trying to get fit, pretty much if there's anything you're trying to do for your health, we know that sleep is the biggest determining factor to help you get from point A to point B. That's why we've been sleeping on 8 Sleep mattresses for probably more than 2 years now. And the main reason is the technology behind the Pod Pro. Now, the Pod Pro is like the Tesla of beds. It will change its temperature based off of how you're sleeping during the night. And if you have a partner that's sleeping on the other side, they could have their own temperature settings. We all sleep hot here, and I used to wake up in a puddle of my own sweat. Gross. That doesn't happen anymore because of the 8 Sleep mattress, and I've been getting the best sleep of my life. Now, if you don't want to replace your mattress, you can just get the Pod Pro cover, and you can put that over your current mattress to get all the benefits of 8 Sleep. But if you also need to replace your old nasty mattress, you can get the Pod Pro cover and the 8 Sleep mattress. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, you guys got to head over to 8sleep.com/powerproject, and you guys will automatically receive $150 off of your order. Again, 8sleep.com/powerproject. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
A culture of fat openness creates a population of more fat people.
Fat people will always also have these insecurities. That's why they build a community where they push and support each other. As I said, if it's health concerning, I don't think this movement should be like too strong.
So has the movement become too extreme?
I actually feel kind of guilty for being a part of this movement, being a pioneer in this game. Like I literally was one of the first influencers to work with Fashion Nova before they even had a plus size line. decline. But let's be for real. Health is real. Diabetes, heart disease, all that is real, okay? It's not fat phobic to care about your health. And if somebody's telling you that, it's because they're miserable and they want you to die and stay fat like them.
Because if
questioning... Have you guys heard of Nikocado Avocado?
Is that the eating YouTube guy?
Yeah, the white guy with kind of like the hair that goes like that.
I think so. Yeah.
I've heard of him. Pull up any of his like images or whatever, but like it's very. He's stuck himself into the brand of being the guy that eats a lot of food that is very, very overweight, and people like to see that. It's almost kind of like he's become a show of that. And now, well, is he gonna lose weight to become healthier if his whole brand, his whole personality, everything he's made money on for years is rubbing his belly, going, I'm fat?
Right.
You've stuck yourself in a corner.
Mm-hmm. I think some of what they were talking about right there, I think it's the price we pay for having freedom. You don't really see this in countries where they have a lot less freedom, where people are forced and told what to do, where there's maybe some communism or these other governments that are set up completely different than our government here.
Mm-hmm.
You have the freedom to do whatever you want, and that's why in this country we have everything from somebody being 600 pounds to someone shooting up a school. Like, it is the price we pay to have the freedom to like do some of these things that we're doing right now, like podcasting. Mm-hmm. We have like wonderful freedoms that sometimes flourish and sometimes are real colorful and beautiful, and other times it goes in a different direction that we didn't really expect. So because we have freedom, people have the freedom to eat whatever way they'd like. People have freedom to feed their kids whatever they'd like. I think that hopefully over a period of time, I think, again, the only way to solve this problem, in my opinion, is through parents. Because I think if the parents can pass along decent eating habits and decent rituals of movement, then we can start to make some headway. But without that, that's going to be really, really difficult. And so it's a unfortunate thing, and it's like a tough thing to try to figure out. But if the parents can, just kind of like we have this like slack block thing here. We have these different things that we're rubbing our feet on. We're squeezing our hands on these grippers and these different things. If people can kind of set their homes up to where there's good, healthy options in terms of food, things that taste really good, they just happen to be there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Those foods, not the actual parents. They don't need to be there all the time. Mm-hmm. But and you have stuff around the house that encourages exercise, and you encourage your kids to play sports, and you try to go out and throw the ball with them and do these things. Hopefully they'll have those things in their life to where they're going to understand the value. And the woman in the video brought up something interesting. There are a lot of people that are very, very overweight that are exercising. Yes. There's a lot of people that are very heavy that exercise routinely and that are eating healthier than they used to. And so we don't really know where people are at in their life. Somebody might have lost 50 pounds, 100 pounds. Russell lost 60 pounds. And if someone called him fat, I'd punch him in the face, because I'd be like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
The guy's, he's in here, he's training, he's fucking working on it. You know what I mean? So I think we have to try to think about, there's so many different things to think about when we think about a topic like this.
The issue is seen as an attack. Does it suggest that more of the focus is on resistance to change rather than acceptance? But if it is about acceptance, has the message at least been consistent for everyone? Do you think there are different body standards for men and women?
Women have this different connotation than men have. Maybe it's more acceptable for a man to be larger than a woman.
For example, like a girl might say, like, I will never date someone that's shorter. Or let's say if a man says, I'll never date someone over this weight.
My husband's tall, and some people have shorter boyfriends. Kind of all depends on what you want in life.
Would it be rude if like men started saying like, I won't date girls over a certain weight?
I think physical attraction is important just as much as an emotional attraction.
I don't really see like fat models for guys. We always have the standard of the jacked dude.
Men have a lot of pressure now to look good, but when it comes to sexuality, why am I a hoe if I like to and you guys are the kings and I'm the hoe? I think these double standards, oh my God, this pissed me off so much.
Do you think there's different body
standards?
Hey,
she likes sex. That's great.
between men and women?
100%. Right now we have a big trend for the dad bods. So my wife says, no, it's great. But then if you look at a woman who might have the mom bod at just given birth, people shame them for the way they look.
That's actually an interesting point. I've actually heard more of like the reverse, in the sense that there's a lot of like, let's say, plus size models that are women, but not really like plus size models that are for men.
I would counter that with how many male models do you see versus how many female models do you see?
So I wanted to ask an actual plus size model, why? Why do you see a lot of like plus size modeling for girls, but not like plus size modeling for men?
I think, to be honest, some people fetishize fat girls.
You don't think there's any fetish for like fat dudes?
Just met a fat dude yesterday and he was cuter than his friend. But you know, I'm very demanding in the bedroom and I think they need that.
Pause.
I mean,
this woman's so funny. Very demanding in the bedroom. Yo, those things. Okay, I'm being real. Those were very distracting, dog. Like, Sam, I love you. I'm just saying, like, very distracting. But that is a thing. You know, look, have you ever heard of feeders?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I know where you're going with it. But
so there are some people out there, and maybe one of them might be in shape, but like they like their partner bigger. So there was this guy on I wish I remembered his YouTube username, but he was very big. He had like 1 million something subscribers. Someone will be able to pop his name in the chat, but like a girl got with him and she just kept like buying him junk and feeding him because she liked him really fat, right? So there are people out there who have a fetish for a specific type of body, you know. So that's true.
Hey now.
Oh, also, this is another thing. Have you guys ever heard certain guys who are like, I mean, yeah, I'd fuck a fat chick, but I'd never date one or I'd never marry one.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. We're just playing the video.
Fat girls in your closet.
Nah, but the thing is, you guys say that.
because I don't have a lot of condition, so the guy has to do the work.
And so it made me think, is it better to discourage people from being overweight or to fully accept it despite its potential consequences? Well, I'm curious. So, you say that it's very important for people to demonstrate, like self-care and not being fat. Do you think then fat shaming is a good way to promote people to be fit?
I feel it's not the best way to go about it. If you use other methods, they can be more mindful about the eating patterns, fitness, and all that stuff.
Every time you attack someone on their physique, not a good way to go about things.
Well, you're telling me off camera you lost 45 pounds. What made you want to do that in the first place?
People around you are in shape, and you just can't lose sight of that.
So your environment not only influences your actions, but also your trajectory. And when that's the case, we're both influencing and influenced by the people we spend the most time with. And so when your actions can directly impact the people closest to you, it may be a different way to explore whether it's okay to be fat. Well, let me ask you this. What would you do if your kids are fat?
I think it's like a problem. It's like a disease.
Disease?
You cannot live like that.
Would you want your kids to be fat?
No.
What would you do if they are?
Like, exercise is like a big part of my life.
But I thought you can't really like force someone to change.
Pause.
Right?
Okay. Both of you guys do have kids. I don't even know if you guys would be able to answer the question, because were your kids ever overweight in any type of unhealthy way?
I think, kids, they change a lot as they grow. They might grow tall and they might grow wide for a minute, and they grow tall and they keep kind of going through these different changes.
Yeah.
Neither one of my children were ever really that obsessed with food. And I don't know if we got lucky with that, or if that was something that we taught them, or it was some other habits that they picked up. I mean, we don't have a lot of like junk food around the house.
Yeah. Did you guys, when you were younger and your kids were younger, did you guys ever have a bunch of snack food and junk food in the house, even though you were 330 at a certain point?
Yeah, we had some stuff in the house, but it was, my wife, I think it's important that somebody cooks.
Mm-hmm.
Not every family has that happen.
Yeah.
But a cooked home meal is going to be different than, going to a restaurant and stuff like that, getting takeout food or fast food and those kinds of things. So I think, our advantage to keeping our kids healthy was to like cook and prepare foods for them. And then if they were at friend's house or whatever, they could do whatever they wanted. We didn't have like a lot of rules, but we saw the food that we cooked the food, prepared the food that they were going to eat routinely. So we always felt like this is going to keep them safe. This is going to keep them healthy. This is going to prevent them from gaining too much body weight. And if they did gain body weight, they wouldn't gain like some crazy amount.
Yeah.
Like maybe they'd have 10 pounds on them or something like that, or 20 pounds on it, but it's not going to be like 100 because it was still relatively healthy food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter's never had an issue with it, but I am concerned moving forward just because of the food that's surrounded her when she's outside of our house. Just to explain, so like my youngest son does not know anything other than food that will kind of always keep him, healthy. He even when if we do go out to eat, like he's not not to judge other people, but like I'll see other young kids having like kids meals, right? Where it's like they're having the fried
Kids
everything.
menu should not exist.
They should not exist. No protein, fried everything, or just fat and carbs, and that's it. When we go out, my son eats meat and like he just eats protein and fat, and that's it. And he doesn't know anything different.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that that's going to be like that forever. But if we start off this foundation in the right way, I think it's just going to set them up in the future. And our house is never going to have like a bunch of stuff that's just going to spiral everything out of control.
Yeah.
So I hope that I'll never have to really be like, oh, you need to be focused more on this and this and this.
You're also the example, dude.
And so that's the thing. My wife will work out every day. He sees that, or he'll see me working out. We were on the mats together in the garage last week, and he's active. If he is watching TV, it's amazing. He's just literally jumping on the couch the whole time,
mm-hmm.
and I don't tell him to stop because he's just he's just going nuts, right? And so the examples, and also like I'm not saying you need to eat steak and rice and broccoli or whatever, and then going and having pizza. Like we're doing it all together, and there's no straying away from that that way of living.
Yeah,
it's just that's just the way things are, and so I don't think I'm gonna have really an issue with him.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they are my kids, so I can do whatever I want.
And so when one person's unhealthy habits can enable another person's, it's easy to see how influence begins. So if culture can shape behavior, what impact can shaming have on the larger population?
What is like Mexican culture like in regards to being fat?
Bullying to the fat people. The parents doesn't like you to be fat.
Pause. I gotta admit something so fucked. So again, I told you, in our culture, it's like, you're fat, you get called out. One of my cousins, when I was younger, he was kind of chubby. I'd be like, why are you so fat, bro? Like, we'd go back and forth roasting each other. He'd roast the fuck out of me. I'd roast the fuck out of him. But the consistent back pocket roast that I always had, and I don't feel good about this, is just like...
It's the checkmate, yeah.
It's the checkmate. It's like, I've laid my trap card and you have fallen. It sucks. Yeah. And you even see this thing from like kids. When I was in elementary school, we had a teacher, I think Mrs. Breckelmeyer. She was really overweight, and kids would really just like say shit about that, like kids around her. Kids are brutal, but the thing is, kids can see that it's like abnormal or somewhat a problem. I'm not saying that you should be making fun of people, but it's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kids are going to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then so Mexican culture. So when you're young and the kid's eating a lot, it's celebrated. It's like, oh, he's a good eater. And then as you get older, you get in trouble if you don't clear out your plate. And so it starts to develop like some weird habits there as well, because you're celebrated when you're really young. You get in trouble if you don't eat all the way through. You start to gain weight and you get made fun of.
This is, what's so funny about that? In Nigerian culture, like my grandma, I told you guys when I got older, I was still really big, but I was lean. So my grandma was like, you need to put some more fat on your bones. Because over there, it's like there is a fat threshold. You can be fat where you like, you have some...
You're round. No, I mean your biceps and stuff like...
You have heft.
Yeah.
But you're not like you're not so big that you can't go do shit. It's like you'll get shamed when you start getting really big. But if you like, you don't have to be single digit body fat. You're 15% body fat and you're big. It's like that means you're strong.
You start to get a lean face and veins. You're out of the family.
Yeah, it means you're not. You need to eat more. You know what I mean? But yeah, they'll fucking shame the fuck out of people, bro.
I think a lot of these things are passed on, like in cultures, because you probably did eat very healthy at some point. Like probably didn't have.
Oh yeah.
Like refried beans or something, probably regular beans. It probably had, chicken that was healthier and wasn't cooked in oil and all these different things. And now we just we just fucked everything up. There's so many calories, so many, like Mexican food is the greatest example because Mexican food is so great. It can be so healthy. It's not even hard to make it healthy.
And it's still good.
You don't even have to go out of your way that much to make it pretty damn healthy.
Yeah.
But the way that most people eat it now, it's going to be really calorically dense. So if you eat as much as you want and you do clear your plate, you probably have eaten way too much.
I'm hungry. Damn it.
He's a great singer, you know, but sometimes I say, oh, you have to be thinner to be, you know, you're like an image. So,
and at least according to her, there's a bit of shaming in Mexican culture. But at the same time, Mexico is one of the fatter countries in the world.
Well, what is French culture like when it comes to fat people?
So I grew up fat, not really fat.
Chunky.
Yeah, my brothers called me like the Michelin. And that stuck with me like for a long time. And I think that's one of the reasons why I went to exercise a lot.
Well, so let me dig into that. That seems like fat shaming worked.
I think so.
And in countries like Japan, we've seen even more drastic measures of shaming.
Big bellies in Japan are suddenly bad news.
The Metabo law enacted in 2008 requires employers to measure their employees' waist circumference to prevent metabolic syndromes caused by obesity to identify those at risk. And it aims to encourage healthier lifestyles and participation in health management programs. And even as a developed society, Japan is one of the least fat countries.
Pause.
So
it makes a lot of sense if you're an employer and you're paying for their insurance and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, let's have them not have to use that insurance so much, you know?
But also, like, you encourage community movement.
Yeah.
Like, you saw all those people doing whatever they were doing. Like, you encourage people to start moving more. You know what I mean? Good on you, Japan.
Japanese people are weird.
Oh, shit.
They are.
Let's go into it.
I've been there before.
Yeah.
I went to a bowling alley and they're like exercising as they're bowling. It was so interesting. They're like dancing and doing these exercises in the background. And then like what the people I was there, it was weird because I was in wrestling at the time and I was with my friend Nathan Jones, who's like 6'11", and he's the guy in Troy that gets killed by Brad Pitt. And it was just bizarre. I'm like with these like wrestling guys and then these little Japanese people are in the background like dancing and bowling and stuff. It was so strange. We're like, what the hell are they doing? And they were staring at us and we were staring at them. We're like, what the fuck are they doing? We're like, who the fuck are these guys? These mutant wrestler American guys. What are they doing?
I'm so happy. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm happy you fleshed that one out. Yeah. We could have kept going.
Somebody will just take the little piece of it.
Yeah, good. Oh, shit. But wait, let's look at this list real quick.
It's working.
Ethiopia, 4.3%. Wow, Ethiopia, Nepal. Okay. Cool. Hey, Burkina Faso, Afghanistan. Andrew, Mark, you want to take a gander at that next country?
What's that?
I can't see.
What's under Afghanistan?
I was like, what are you talking about?
What's the country name?
Niger.
Thank you. Good, you got it right.
I was like, where's he
trap
going
one of you
with
guys.
this? Yeah.
It's Niger. Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
I want to dive deeper into how different levels of acceptance has impacted different countries around the world. Where are you from again?
Argentina.
France.
I'm from Iran.
Okay, let me ask you, in Argentina, are there a lot of fat people?
Not much. Our food is not as fast food as in America.
There's not as many obese people in Iran as I see when I go to Vegas. Everything in US, the portion size is just like overloaded. So, but back home, more organic stuff and people eat with family, so it's more enjoyable.
So I think it's a cultural thing. In New York, for example, I was with another plus-size girl. We were walking on the street and every 5 minutes, wherever you go, they were like, hola, señoritas, you know? Europe, where I am from, they like slim girls. But I think in most of the US parts, they like them fat and juicy, thick.
Why do you think a lot of people in America are fat, juicy, and thick?
Because honestly, the food is really shitty. And then the good food, healthy food is so fucking expensive. So people eat unhealthy.
Pause. Is healthy food expensive? Or do we perceive it to be expensive? Because you know what I mean? Because you can make healthy meals.
Yeah, I think it's been kind of shown and demonstrated that it's like not necessarily exponentially that much more expensive, but you can get really cheap. You can fill up really, really cheap, but you're going to fill up on pure junk food though. So there shouldn't be. I don't really think there should be a comparison because the quality is so poor. And if you can get, one of the things about your diet is that when you get better quality foods, hopefully you select foods that will make you fuller quicker with less calorie intake, eating leaner sources of meat and things like that. And yes, that can be pricey, but that's way different than you just eating, some Taco Bell or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if everybody treated themselves as they would like their grandkids or something.
Right.
It's like if somebody were to go grocery shopping, that's way too expensive. I'm just going to get the boxed food. But then if you think like, oh, what if this was for your grandkids or your kids or whatever it may be? And it's like, how healthy do you want them to be? Well, as healthy as possible. Okay, well, would you spend a little bit more for them? Like, without a doubt, of course I would. But when it comes to ourselves, kind of like what I said on a previous podcast, like we're pretty selfish when it comes to happiness and feeling good, but not so much when it comes to our health for some weird reason.
Power Project family, we talk about beef and meat all the time on the podcast. That's why we've partnered with certified Piedmontese beef. But did you know this? That 85% of all grass-fed, grass-finished beef in the United States is imported from other countries? 85%.
Damn.
But certified Piedmontese is made in the U.S. of A.
America.
Fuck yeah. So go out and get some of the best tasting, some of the leanest, some of the best beef from Piedmontese. Andrew, how can they get it?
Absolutely. So you guys can head over to cpbeef.com and at checkout enter promo code POWER to save 25% off your entire order. And if your order is $150 or more, you get free 2-day shipping. Again, cpbeef.com. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Fuck yeah.
Opposed to France where of course there is like fat people but way less like in terms of percentage.
You're trying to say that American food's bad?
American
it is. And over again what we see is an obvious link between what you eat and how fat you are, in that if you want to lose weight you might want to put that cheeseburger down, you fat but what we see is that the food and health system in America goes a lot deeper.
All right, are we going to nitpick that real quick?
I do like that they showed Patrick Star.
Yes. Yeah. But, there's nothing wrong with meat. There's nothing wrong with fat. Mm-hmm. It's like it's the mixture of a lot of things together, as we've talked about a lot.
Yeah. It's just overeating. Yeah, you find foods that make it easy to overeat, and you're going to overeat. You find so many foods, like if you think about like if you were to eat like Chinese food or Mexican food, those are going to be, or Italian food, those are going to be things that you're going to kind of blend them all together. You're going to take the pasta and the sauce and the meat, and you're going to put everything together, throw some Parmesan cheese on it, and have a party, right?
Don't forget the bread.
And you're going to have bread with it. So that's just going to be like insanely calorically dense, which at some point in history was probably important to make things very calorically dense. But now that we kind of just sit around, we're not going to be able to expend that energy super easily. So I think, a lot of times people are going to try to blame it on, people eating cheeseburgers or people eating sugar. It's sugar. Sugar's the problem. People are addicted to sugar. Maybe they are a little bit. Maybe people do need to cut back on their sugar. But overall, you have to try to figure out a way, how can you ultimately fill yourself up easier with foods that have less energy in them.
And, we're going to be those bodybuilders, but protein's one of those big things that people don't necessarily eat enough of. I know you will hear some people say Americans overconsume or eat too much protein. They're not eating, first off, quality protein and not eating stuff that will fill them up. So when we talk about food, like we're talking about steak, chicken, fish, etc., if you eat these foods, they will make you full and not want to eat more. But most people eat foods that like they can end up eating more and more and more of. Isn't it odd that like when you have a burger and fries, it's like the fries give you a little bit of a buffer to eat more food.
There's always room for them.
Because like fries, you can just put that shit back, and it has a lot of fat, has a lot of carbohydrates, it's calorically dense.
Salty.
But do try and eat like, go to In-N-Out maybe and get yourself a few Flying Dutchmen. Maybe that's 6 patties. It's going to have less calories, and after you eat probably the 4th patty, you're going to be pretty fucking full. I can go through 10 or 12 of them, but like there's, you will be full.
You end up with, they call it palate fatigue. And they had somebody, I think, eating ice cream, and they wanted to see how much ice cream someone could eat. And they were able to eat more ice cream when they ate French fries in between.
Man versus food. He was trying to like eat this world famous thing in under a certain amount of time. And so he called for fries and he put extra salt on them, ate them, and then he kept going. Yeah.
Let's go.
The move.
We talk about this stuff all the time, but we will have something for you guys. We'll have it here somewhere. It'll be pretty much a simple guide for you in terms of what we do as far as nutrition's concerned. So,
would it be okay if I put that I like eat In-N-Out at least once a week on there?
Of course, because you do.
Yeah. No, I literally do. I love that place.
And as always, the key is to follow the money.
Our food environment doesn't match what humans are meant to eat.
A lot of people don't even know what processed foods are. Every system is built on these food lies because it makes them money.
It's the profits in the processing. Cheap processed food made with corn, wheat, soy, like chicken nuggets, ready-to-go meals, like huge profit market. You grow meat, fish, eggs, vegetables. There's not a lot of profit margin though. The big processed food companies, they have all the money. Now they can do lobbying, marketing. Most of the industry research out there is funded by these big food companies.
I find something very disturbing about that. And when most of our food system is producing processed foods, we become so accustomed to the effects that we don't even realize it until we go somewhere else.
For the past 10 days, I've been in Italy and I've eaten nothing but meat, cheese, pasta, and pizza. And you know what? I felt fantastic.
I ate like absolute shit and didn't work out, and I never felt healthier.
It turns out the EU has way stricter food regulations than the US. They don't allow as many preservatives, additives, or GMOs. I think we're literally eating poison here.
And with our system incentivizing providers to treat illnesses and diseases rather than prevention, it makes you wonder, is the system set up to keep people sick and treat patients as subscription customers to maximize profit?
The whole medical system is not a wellness system, it's a sick care. All of this is based on money.
Because even with the US spending by far the most on healthcare out of any country, then why are we one of the fattest?
Disease is probably the biggest business in America. Obesity, cancer, it's all monetary, you know? You get within this
system of
care and you get stuck there, you know? You become reliant on that. One pill creates another symptom that you get on another pill for and another pill, you know? I think the best thing you can do for yourself is take care of yourself.
So do you think that America is promoting this culture of fatness to get more patients in the door?
I wouldn't doubt it for a second.
So when the issue is not just...
What do you guys think about that? Because it does seem to be a nice little conveyor belt, you know, rather than talking about the habits, the things to do daily, the way you can handle your nutrition. Like instead, here's a medication to deal with those heart issues you're having. Here's another medication to deal with the pain you're having, rather than promoting actual, you know.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have talked about it. And just one perspective that I give, because I'm more on the side of like, well, fire your doctor if they don't even bring up diet or whatever.
Yeah.
But that doctor has probably seen thousands of patients that are going down this path. They have habits of terrible eating. They're not going to change it. So it's like, well, shoot, if you're not going to change anything, here's the last ditch effort. Start taking medications because you are not going to change. Therefore, here's something that's just going to help prolong you. Yes, you're going to have to buy more. Yes, you're going to have to come back to see me. The alternative is you either change all your habits and change your lifestyle, which is probably not going to happen, or you die. Those are the other options. So with that said, I'm pretty sure you're just going to reach for this canister of pills.
Yeah, I don't really know how much of like a big conspiracy theory it is or like it's huge, you know, some giant plan, but I do think that it's the way that the country's set up, and it definitely you know, the pharmaceutical companies, they're going to keep coming up with different medications like Ozempic and these different things to assist people with stuff that, you know, people are really having a hard time controlling. They're having a hard time managing it themselves. And so those pharmaceutical companies, they're going to try to do their best to, I think, like assist and help in those areas because there is so much profit. Are they actually making you healthier? You know, if someone takes Ozempic and loses 50 pounds, we don't really know yet. Like I'm sure they did studies on it and stuff like that. I'm sure they did their due diligence on it, but the way that those pharmaceutical companies make so much money, and they have they spend so much time like researching their stuff. One of the things that they'll implement into their budget is people dying and people suing them. There's car companies and stuff do the same thing. It's like they call it the price of doing business. So they know that some of these drugs will kill people. Like they will harm people. They will hurt people. But they still make them anyway because they're going to make, you know, $75 billion on something or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And there probably should be like more regulation on it. There probably should be, stricter rules and things like that on it. But I don't know about like rules and laws. Like it just seems like it bottles things up and makes things even more confusing.
About laziness, but a system that is feeding you unhealthy options, then what is the solution?
What do you think is like the right balance between acceptance and improvement?
You have to accept the people who choose the way they want to be. And for the improvement side, you just have to be there to support the people who want to make improvements. You can't just force your beliefs on someone, and you can't force someone to make a change.
Because the first step to improvement is acceptance. And more importantly, deciphering if you're deluding yourself from working towards improvement in the name of acceptance. Because if there's even a tiny whisper inside of you that's telling you should be doing more and that you don't want to be fat, then you're settling.
Maybe look yourself in the mirror a little bit.
Just be honest to yourself.
Just be honest with yourself.
Because the moment you start looking inwards, you can start changing your reality. And what used to be your insecurity can now become one of the best reasons for wanting to improve. It's why the lonely outcast nerd creates a social network. It's why the misunderstood comedian wants to make people laugh. And it's why the person who works out consistently year after year was once the fat kid. And it's when we start embracing brutal honesty within ourselves and life is when we start uplifting others around us to do the same. And that's exactly the mission to explore the unfamiliar. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you want to see more content where I turn street interviews into investigative journalism. And if YouTube gets it right, you'll like this video too.
Cool.
Do white lives matter? Oh, this guy's an amazing creator. I haven't Owen just sent this to us, but dude, amazing video. Jen, I'm not sure if that's your name, but that's your channel name. Amazing video, dog.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he ended it
Thoughtful.
with that was really cool the way he kind of ended it. But I think a lot of people would want for people to take personal responsibility, but sometimes when you get into the personal responsibility category, you also things kind of turn political and people get upset and they get kind of mad and they'll say, I don't have the same opportunities as this person or that person, and it just gets to be a mess. But I do think that everyone should be able to look themselves in the mirror and they should be able to say, I can get better, I can learn more, I have the ability to learn, I have the ability to make progress with whatever my current situation is, no matter who you are.
And if you have someone in your life that is overweight, and they are trying to do something about it, that's someone that wants help. So help them out. But if you have somebody in your life that's like, they say they're proud and they're feeling fine and they don't want to change, there's no reason to, I guess, force your opinions upon their life, because at the end of the day, it is their life. It is not yours. And just because you're living you feel good and you feel fit and healthy, if someone doesn't want any part of that, it's not your job to try to force it down their throats.
Yeah, there's plenty of information out there now. Kind of what you were talking about earlier about younger kids getting into the gym and that sort of thing. I remember in elementary school, there was like 2 or 3 kids that were overweight in the whole school.
Yeah.
And I used to just think like, oh, it's weird that they were the ones that were selected to be the ones that were overweight. As I got older and there was kids that were jacked, I'm like, that's weird that they're the ones that got selected to be jacked, and in shape. And now it's like, well, shit, now I know better. But like to kind of be clueless in this day and age, I think you're like avoiding information, So what I'm getting at is like, if somebody does want to get wants to lose weight, like the information is available now. Like it's no longer like, I don't know what to do, even though people still say that. That's a cop-out.
I'm just interested, when is the next time the fitness community is going to have something they're going to get angry about? Because, whenever there's some type of like big mannequin or some model on something, you start to see a bunch of fitness people like,
yeah,
this is promoting fat people.
Just put the fork down. Eat less, move more.
Yeah, that is one thing, man, that like I can't understand. Like I feel like sometimes, some fit people just find some shit to get mad about. That's like you don't need to be fucking getting so angry about this. This isn't the battle that you need to fucking try to fight. But yeah, Who knows? Let us know what you guys thought about this video. And he asked actually a lot of good questions to some of those people. So let us know your thoughts. Ideally, we'll have the PDF we talked about somewhere in the description, or it'll be somewhere where you can go to our website and get it there. But we'll have that for you.
PDF, what do you mean?
Oh, yeah. So we have talked about the way that we diet and the way that we eat and all those things for a long time on this podcast. So in this PDF that we're going to have for you guys, it's just going to be a simple guide to how we do things at home. And maybe you can take some of those habits, you can take some of those things and add them into your lifestyle to make dieting, working out, just this whole habit of trying to be healthy easier for you.
It can be easier. It doesn't have to be impossible. Take us on out of here, Andrew.
Alrighty. Like Nsima said, drop those comments down below. Try not to be mean. We'd appreciate that. And so make sure you guys subscribe, like, all that good stuff, and follow the podcast at MB Power Project all over the place. That's, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff. My Instagram is at I am Andrew Z. And Nsima, where are you at?
Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube. The Discord community is down below where everyone's sharing cool stuff that helps them out. And there are also cool giveaways that happen there. So check out the Discord community below. At Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube. At Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Mark.
At Mark Smelly Bell. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.
Now, if you dug this video, you might dig this one right here. And I'm not trying to insinuate anything. It is the ultimate guide to losing fat and keeping it off. And I'm not calling you fat. There's nothing wrong with that. If you are, there's good knowledge here for anybody and everybody, whether you're bigger, smaller, in between. Check it out.